Characters here is Lawrence Sanchez, and you report that he is the one who said he had no limitations, zero on what he could do. So describe for us, who is Sanchez and exactly what did he do?
Well, Sanchez was a long-time operative for the CIA, and also he worked at the Department of Energy for a while in a very senior intelligence role. He went to the NYPD on temporary duty, still on the CIA payroll, and while he was there in that status, there were limitations on what he could do. But then he moved over into a position where he was being paid by the NYPD. He still had his security clearance, but he was on leave without pay from the CIA, and under those circumstances, he said that he felt that there were no limitations. None of the limitations that apply to the CIA's domestic intelligence gathering inside the U.S. Applied to him, Lawrence Sanchez. And that's a very murky area, and he played a fairly interesting but problematic role within the NYPD. He believed that you could not only do a lot of surveillance in these various communities, but you could actually get a jump on terrorists, not only by knowing what they were planning, but in some ways knowing what they wanted to do before they knew themselves what they wanted to do, which all got into a very murky area. He's no longer with either the NYPD or the CIA.
Well, I think as people are watching this, a lot of them are indeed shocked, and many of them are just wondering, is this embed program just unique to the NYPD, or could it be happening in other places as well?
Well, I don't think it would do them much good anywhere else. I mean, one of the advantages, if you will, for the CIA of working so closely with the NYPD is that New York is this huge city, 8.5 million people. 40% of the people in New York City were not born in the United States of America. So it is literally a window on the rest of the world. If you want to know what's going on in Yemen, you can go to the Yemeni community in New York City and start to talk to people through one or many different ways, and you can find out probably more about what's going on in Yemen than if you're walking around in Sana'a or Aden. So that is a hugely useful thing. Also, the NYPD has 35,000 cops, and of those, many hundreds of them speak languages like Arabic and Urdu and Farsi that are hugely useful in counterterrorism. Most police forces just don't have anything close to those kinds of resources. So I don't think the CIA would be as interested in them, and I don't think also that they would be as interested in working with the CIA, because New York, also remember, is the #1 target. New York and Washington, D.C. are the #1 terrorist targets in the world.
Well, here's what I find
is a very special city safe.
What I find very fascinating about all of this in your article, and you write, quote, I keep coming back to that basic question, what are the alternatives? I have yet to find an answer that really seems satisfactory. But for 12 years now, it should be said, New York City has been secure. So do you think, in this case, is it the ends justifying the means? Was it worth it?
I think any New Yorker would say it is worth it. I think there have been a few close calls that make people wonder just how vulnerable they still are. But I think anybody who lived through 9/11 and anybody who looked at those close calls will say they're pretty glad that whatever was done that kept the city safe.
Indeed. All right. Thank you, Christopher. We do appreciate your insight.
Thank you, Betty.
And we did reach out to the NYPD for a comment, and the deputy commissioner said, quote, we are proud of our relationship with CIA and its training expertise, which is in part responsible for the fact that the 11 years since 9/11, there hasn't been a single casualty of a terrorist attack in New York City.